Right guys, I'm going to show you now how I tie up and set up my version of a Ronnie Rig. Well, it's not really my version of Ronnie Rig, it is a Ronnie Rig. So we will start with the hooks. For this one I'm going to use the Cryogen curve shank in size 4. I always like a big hook myself personally. I just think they hook better. But I can also use this with the Kamakura cranks in size 4. I tend to use the Kamakuras when my hook is off the deck. And I know it's not going to get into contact with any debris on the bottom or gravel or anything that could possibly blunt the point, because they are ever so needle sharp. But obviously the sharper hook, generally the weaker they are as well. So I do like the Cryogens for this one. So we're going to pop those ones to one side. Go for the components again. Got spinner swivels. You can use quick QC swivels or quick change swivels, but these ones I find are much better because they're opened up and they're specifically designed for the job. You've got the quarter kickers here. We use one of those and trim one down. The ESP grip stops. These things are the best hook stops on the market. They don't slip. They don't move around. They're a little bit fiddly to get on, but when you get them on, they stay in the right place. And then we've got the ESP hook ring swivels. Now, to be honest, guys, I just picked those ones. Quarter do some. Lots of other companies do them as well. They're all pretty much exactly the same. So, right, without further ado, we shall start with our Cryogen hooks. So I'll take one of these ones out, like that, pop those to one side. The first thing I'm going to do before I do anything else is I am going to thread on my hook ring swivel. So again, trying not to spill these all over the table. Oh, there you go, that was one down. So I'll pop that one back in. And I'll nick that one there, which I can see. So, a little bit fiddly, these ones. So I get the actual ring to hang down. And I'm just going to slip that onto the hook. So you can see it's hanging down in the right place. So pop that there. I am then going to get my grip stop. And I'm going to apply one of these. Again, trying not to remove the whole lot over the table. Again, pop those over there, now we're done with it. Now these, you won't be again probably see this on camera, but they have a tiny hole right in the middle. And what I'll try and do is put my hook point with my decrepit aging eyesight. There we go, you can see it's just slipped on there and it's gone right the way through. I then use my nail just to pull that round onto the hook. You can see I managed to do that without impaling myself on the hook, which is always a good start. I'm going to slide that right round so the thing is opposite the barb, and then we can see that is stopping my hook ring swivel from coming off. Now, the next thing we do, now you can either do this with shrink tubing or you can use these quarter kickers or various other makes as well. I find the quarter ones do tend to fit the hooks a little bit better, the other ones are a bit tight. And what I'm going to do to that, you can see it's got a slight kink in it, obviously where it's designed to be as a kicker, as the name says. So I'm just going to trim it off like that. And the reason I'm doing that is then it allows me to slide this up over the hook, up onto the shank, and there like that. And then by using a quarter spinner swivel, I can change my hook over nice and quickly. So I don't have to deconstruct the whole rig, the boom, etc. I can just literally take my hook off and put a new one on, and that's a lot quicker. Right, okay, so I've got two spinner swivels there, so I'm going to take one of them off, pop him back in the packet, put that over there, and then you can see this one here, guys, you can see it's got the nice wide gates. You don't have to stress the swivel by pulling it out slightly to be able to get it on or easing off. They just literally hook straight over like that and straight in. Now people ask me, does it matter which way you do it? I'm not entirely sure it does, to be honest. Some people will tell you have to do it one way rather than the other. I tend to do it that way round, as just because. But then you slide your rubber or your kicker back over it like that, and should you then wish to change the hook, you just slide it back up again, unhook it, put a new one on. Okay, so it's that simple. But that then sits like that, and that is our spinner swivel. So as I say, some people call it Ronnie Rig, some other people call it spinner rig. Basically, the difference being is this one doesn't have a big ring at the bottom, an O-ring at the bottom, allow a bit more room. So perhaps it has a slight little less movement, but this is the way I like to tie it up. So literally just slide that back round. And that is the hook end of everything sorted. And now we just need to create a boom. And this will be done of one of two ways as well. One of the components that I have actually missed off this, if I can find it, is actually the anti-tangle sleeve as well. So I must remember that to put that one back in. So again, now this rig I often use over softer ground with this boom. This is the ESP tungsten loaded soft. So it's nice and supple. It will fold over anything that's on the ground, any weed, any low-lying weed, etc. And any silt, it will just gently lower down. And that's what I want from this. So that's why I'm using this material in this case. So let's snip off a decent length of that, so you can see it's a proper length. And what we're going to do is we're going to tie a little overhand, double overhand knot with this. Again, so thread that one through, double it back over. Now I've used quite a lot of material because at this point I want to make sure that I can tie this over nice and easily without stabbing myself too many times with the hook, which is a real kind of hazard with this rig. There you go, you see it's already dug into my nail there. So we'll loop it over once, fold the hook back through, and the reason I do it twice, like so many things, is to make sure, don't want that to come undone. So loop it back through again, and again making sure we go through the middle of both loops. Okay, and there we go. Let's see that. Sorry, I was saying the reason I don't, I use a double overhand loop is because I don't want it to slip. Now, what we have to do here is we have to make sure that we tease the knot down and we're not too far away. And I'm just going to take this off camera, give it a bit of saliva, pull it down, and we'll see. Right, here we go. So we're going to have a bit of movement in that, but not too much. And that gives me a bit of a knot to put my putty down on as well. So you can see I've pulled that down, pull the second half of the knot as well, same time. And I like this stuff as well because what it does when you tie a knot like this, you don't end up taking the coating of the braid off either. So you end up having to do the whole thing again. So again, right, what I'm going to do now is I'm going to trim it down, as I've done said before, not too tight because there's no point. It might look a bit fuzzy there, but I'm going to put a blob of putty over the top of that, and that will sit perfect. So that is the first bit of our rig done. And now all I have to do is pretty much exactly the same at the other end, but I want to thread on a anti-tangle sleeve. Now, in order to do this, I'm going to pop over here and grab myself a latch needle, pop that through there, and then fold the braid over the top, close the latch, as you can see there, and then I'm going to gently slide my anti-tangle tube over the top like that, smooth that out again, and you can see that will be fine. Then lastly, just going to tie myself, this is, to be honest guys, it's probably a lot shorter than I would normally have this. For softer ground, I would want it to be probably at least that kind of length for the hook length. So it folds down nice and soft and rests on top of everything. So you can see it going down like that. So what we're going to do is, we'll tie it off anyway, and you can imagine that I've actually tied this a bit longer. So again, one overhand loop, flick through once, and then flick through again. Tighten it down like that, like so. Try and get the knot small as we can so that everything slides over it nice and neatly. Pull it up, and again, trim. And that one I'll leave an even longer trim because it's going to sit underneath the anti-tangle tube, so it won't matter. Pull that back over, taking care not to pull the knot right through so that you don't end up having to put the whole thing again. And there we can see, I'll pull that up nice and tight when we are set on, when it's put onto the QC swivel to put onto my rig, which I'll show you in detail how I do in another video. Right, so that is there. Last thing to do to that one is to add a bait. Now, you can see here my ever trusty pot of plastic. It's been soaking in betalain for God knows how many years. So what we're going to do is we're going to select a bit of ESP double corn, which is one of my favourite where it's allowed to use baits. And we need to get a bit of bait floss as well to show you how I'm going to attach this. So the first thing I do, strip a load of bait floss off, cut it short. I'm going to take the hook ring swivel and I'm going to thread the bait floss one side of it through that and up like that. And then I'll take my thing. It's got a little recess there. Should you want to, you can tie a knot over the top of a piece of plastic bolly stock they give it with it, but to be honest, I don't generally bother. I don't find it needs to. And once the way I've showed you it's secure, once I'll show you, it secures it nicely. So we flip the latch over, double the thing, pull that down, pull it right the way through, pull it all the way down onto the thing, and then we just have to pull the tag ends through the actual stop. So one's come through there like that. And then we just need to, it's a bit fiddly. So I have to take one end of there, make sure I can split it open like so. And then I can pull the tag through there. So we eventually. So I pull it down a bit further onto the swivel. So it's just sitting on the barrel of the swivel, but not actually touching the shank of the hook. Trim it down like so. Get my lighter. Again, try not to set light to the camera. Blob the end of that. I'll burn that right the way down to the bottom, and then I will turn the side of the lighter against it and then literally just pull it into place. Now that I have never ever had come off, only when I pull it off at the end, so I find that's very secure. That I almost find is perfectly balanced. You can find there's several different sizes of corn in a pack. You'll find the one that perfectly balances your hook. In actual fact, you don't always tend to need putty on the end. I just generally add a little blob, but I want it to sink as slowly as possible and settle gently over whatever's there. And then, as I say, fishing that over a bed of bait with lots of bits in it, that's one of my most effective methods and something I love doing, fishing that way. So there we go, guys. That is my version of a Ronnie or spinner rig, which I use a lot up at linear and places where I put 3 rods on a spot and fishing on slightly softer ground, etc. There we go.